absolute emperor has taken Spain, and he's not about to give it up without a fight. La Villa del Holgazan, which you saw on the title card. No surprise. We are in the Spanish Peninsula, fighting over this town here. The French already have it. The British and their allies are trying to take it. I have added to what we used to call Bumville, but since we are hanging out with the locals, we're going to call it Villa del Holgazan. I've added a river to this, so that is our line over which we cannot cross, and I've shifted the woods up. They should have been up there from the jump, I guess. Hey, let's take a look at our forces. We'll start with the British. As you can see, they've got some green uniformed allies. Those are the local boys. That is a conscript infantry. It's 1810, so we are using the period-specific rules from the rule book. That conscript infantry, because they're Spanish, they have to stay within 3 inches of the corps commander. They cannot form column of attack, and when they change from march column to line, that's all they can do for movement that turn. Because they're conscript, anytime they charge into melee, they have to make an activation check. I haven't been using that rule. It's kind of buried in the About section. We're going to nail it this time. Behind them, you've got 2 squadrons of dragoons. Those are seasoned. No charge bonus against heavy cavalry, and they cannot be recalled. So they might be so successful, they're successful right off the edge of the map. They're dragoons. What do you expect? On the side of the French, we also have one allied force. That's going to be the conscript light cavalry for the Polish here. They use, there's one other rule I should look. Now, as light cavalry, they get no charge bonus against any cavalry. But they use, according to the rules, Bruce Boyd, minor German states, it's about as close as we can find for Polish in here. They use the Russian point system, so I'm going to have them use the Russian period-specific rules as well. I don't know if that's valid, but I invite you to try and stop me. For the Russians in 1810, cavalry receive no charge bonus. Well, okay, so no charge bonus at all. No charge bonus, full stop. Then we've got a seasoned heavy cavalry on the part of the French, and then we've got a seasoned infantry and a conscript infantry. And once again, the conscript infantry is a mob of 4 battalions that are kind of loosey-goosey, and the seasoned infantry are in one big mass. Now, the period-specific rules for the French say that your best commander can't have a corps commander rating of, I think it's like 3 or higher, and also half your units have to be conscript. So we've got a conscript infantry, conscript cavalry. We're fine. We've met those conditions. We need to figure out how we're going to organize our defense. By the way, British corps commander has a rating of 4. French has a rating of 3. I'm not going to use any little red dice. They're just fiddly. I'm going to keep score over on a piece of paper. You guys can figure it out. Let's take a look at the French defensive strategy. I think, without any shadow of a doubt, you got to stick your conscripts in town. They're terrible, which only leaves you with 3 maneuver elements, and it allows you to dump your corps commander anywhere you want. Since the French are on hold orders, our boss man here has to stay stationary. Everyone has to leave at least part of their unit within 4 inches of him, which gives us the question of, do we want to leave him on the right, in the center, or on the left? The advantage of putting him, on the right is on this side. I didn't flip my camera. The advantage of putting him over here is that you've got 2 cavalry units. Unfortunately, so do they, and the dragoons it's probably a wash. On the other hand, if you put them on that side, you can take advantage of the woods over there to help your defense. The problem is, wherever you put him, these guys can come around the other side and really limit your maneuverability. So what I'm going to do is put him right about there. And what that's going to do is, now I'm going to move him off 1 inch just so we can get some units in there. Bear in mind on the defense, even though there's a river here, the British are going to be able to attack from 3 sides at once if they want to. So with this 4-inch radius here, we've got back to the river and kind of around this way. So we've got some room to maneuver. We can even get 1 unit into the woods, into the kidney bean forest. The French will take advantage of those woods by dropping their seasoned infantry in there. They cannot be charged. And then they'll put their cavalry out here in the wide open. Remember that the French heavy cavalry reroll 1 miss when they charge. No charge bonus for these guys. So that puts the pressure on the British and their attack. One other thing I should point out, the actual point cost for these, I went with approximately 100 points. The British have a total of 114 points, Corps Commander of 4. The French have a total of 104 points, but the only way that the British win is if they control the town at the end of, I don't know, let's call it 10 turns, just to give them a little bit more motivation to get the lead out. What do you say? There's our turn counter. 10 turns. This is turn number 1. If by the end of turn number 10, the British are not invested in the built-up area, then it's a victory. The French have the lower command corps rating right now, so they get to move first. They've set up largely where they want to, but I think we'll go ahead and bring these guys out just a little bit further. And interestingly enough, even with the lower command rating, these guys do get to set the terms of the battle, at least to the extent that they get to decide, they're putting pressure on the British. That's really all they want to do for right now. The British are not, I think I put them, did I put my battle at 9 inches? No, I put it far enough away we're going to back them off just a little bit more. Yeah, we're going to make them earn it. That way, these guys have a little bit of time to figure out whether or not they want to go line or flank. I kind of think they do. Let's just bring them up. Since there's no artillery, we're just going to set them up in a line and see what happens. Then we can swing back around to this side and take a look at how we want the British to move. And since we've got infantry over here, I'm thinking we may go ahead and just sweep in around to the British right. The question is, do we do, what we could do? We're going to bring these guys out here. Now, they could go into march column, but there's really not enough time to do that. So we're just going to leave them. They're just going to come down off their hill 2 inches. There's no battle if they don't do that. And he can move. So we're going to slide him over, and then everybody's got to be within 4 inches of him. We'll bring this infantry straight up, and then we'll bring all of our cavalry around to this side. We're going to try to pull these guys out of the woods. And since they are in flank, they can move up to 4 inches. That's as far as they can move. So we're just sweeping them around like that. And again, these guys can move up to 4 inches, so we'll just take them up to there. Kind of keep them ready. And that'll be it for turn number 1. Moving on to turn number 2, the French get to go. We'll take a look at things from their perspective. If they're biding their time, we got a command radius of 4 inches, so what we'll do is we're actually going to bring these guys back. It's a great point there, Coach. They've got to come to us. So we're going to leave the light cavalry. What do you want to do in a case like this? One of the beautiful things about Absolute Emperor is it's an easy enough game. There's a lot of if-then statements built into Napoleonic Wargaming, and I'm just still kind of learning them all. I will do this, though. I'll pivot these guys up like so. Now, they do still count as being in cover. I think that's about all we can do. So the question is, which guys do we want in front? Do we want them to heavy hit? I guess we kind of do. I mean, technically, I wonder if you could put the cavalry defending the town. That just feels wrong. And one of the things we could do is we could always bring these guys out and just fight the battle in the open, but that really gives up the benefit of fighting in the built-up area. So I think this is about it for the French. At least the good news is the British, who are just going to pull a hey diddle diddle right down the middle, are also forced to stay in a line. So that's going to slow them down a little bit. Not so for the cavalry, who, well, let's move these guys in the back first. They can move up to 4 inches, so if we want to stay within 4, we're going to have to leave something like this. And if that's the case, the other thing we can do now is cheat these guys over this way a little bit and bring our other cavalry right up the middle here, like so. And leave them just back just a little bit. That is the end of the movement. Now, we do have cavalry within 4 inches. Now, the benefit to do... Here's the question. Since they have to stay in flank, it forces these guys, if they want to charge this line cavalry, the French heavy cavalry is going to have to button up their formation. I think they're the only ones that are able to charge. And they have to charge due straight ahead. So that's what we want to do. Let's take our heavy cavalry against that line cavalry. Why not? As always, we're going to roll to see if who gets to charge and who has to take it. Well, do they want to charge in flank attack? Do you really want to charge heavy cavalry in flank attack? You do not. One of the questions I had in my last overly complicated video is about charge declarations. And every single one of these 5 phases, orders, movement, shooting, charges, resolution, goes in order of in ascending elan. The French have to declare their charges first. Neither of these guys have shot, and you have to charge directly straight ahead. You may charge. Now, these guys are actually in charge, just barely in charge radius, but I don't think we want to charge them because they can't... Oh, maybe we do. Maybe we do. These are the conscripts. That might be our best bet. So what we do is we declare a charge here. Now, these guys can... The problem with doing that is these guys can form emergency square. Makes it a much tougher nut to crack. So instead, we're going to go ahead and try to chase off this cavalry, ruin the screen first, and these guys then, so we'll declare our charges. He's going to charge here. Nobody else has any. Does he want to countercharge? He does not. He doesn't get any bonus versus the heavy cavalry anyway, so we'll just take it. Now, in this case, you can move outside of your commander's core radius if they win. So that becomes a combat, and it's going to be the 5 seasoned heavy cavalry. They reroll 1 miss on this charge. The heavy cavalry are in squadron, so they only roll 2d6, but they do get the bonus d6 because they charged. And because they charged, they do get to re-roll 1 of the misses. They are seasoned. They're hitting on 4s. So they get 2 hits, and they get to re-roll this. And there's your 2 hits total for the heavy cavalry. The line cavalry are also seasoned. They get to roll 2 dice without any re-rolls. And they also get 2 hits. Now, in melee, when you get the 2 hits, that is enough for the cavalry. This gets really interesting. I kind of like this phase of the game. The 2 hits, 3 hits in combat. Cavalry that are successful in destroying their enemies, which is neither of them. If they do not defeat, they withdraw 8 inches. And that's it. Or 4 inches, I should say. So this cavalry, by pounding these guys to the tune of 2 hits of damage, then have to retreat. Both sides now have to retreat 4 inches. So we bring this guy back 4 inches here. We'll bring him back 4. And while it's a bit of a wash on the damage front, what it does for the French is it chases these guys off, and they're going to have to spend another turn moving up to get back into the fight. And then nobody's disordered or anything like that. We are simply done with turn number 2. On turn number 3, the French get to go first. And we have got a nice, let's swing these guys out a little bit more, keeping them within 4 inches of our core commander. We will rotate these guys this way. Now that no, we won't. We're going to rotate them this way. We're going to take advantage of our mismatch on this side to see if we can hammer these guys. Then we're gonna, well, we're just gonna, these guys are in the woods, but we're close. It makes life complicated for this veteran infantry. Because if they want to shoot at these guys, it prevents them from forming square. What do? Well, we can fire 2 inches. I think we leave them there. We need our cavalry screen. We'll move these guys up 2 inches to here. We're going to keep them out of the charge. And we'll bring these guys in line. In line, they can move the 4 inches. So we'll bring them up to, right up to, oh, we got to bring this guy up. I should have moved him first. We'll bring them right up here to see if we can chase off this light cavalry screen. Now things are getting interesting, aren't they? And then, of course, we'll bring these guys back up to support. So due to the results of that combat, it's kind of forcing everybody's hand as to how they engage in this game. Taking a little bit more time figuring out how our squares work is really going to pay off big time here. Now, unfortunately, this unit did not get to within 4 inches, and the squadron, they did not quite get close enough, so there's not going to be any charges on this go-round. In fact, that's probably a bad thing. Well, I shouldn't say that, because there's some over here. We're done moving, but we're not done shooting, because this conscript does have the option to fire 4 dice, hitting on 5s, shooting at that cavalry. They get a single hit, taking them to 3. And then I think that's the only shooting that we have. Everybody else is out of range. Then it becomes our, and they're not pinned, so they can charge, except that we already established that they're out of charge range for everybody. Oh, man. Now, these guys can charge into the cavalry if they want to. Probably a mistake. Do you want to charge? Yes, we want to charge this line infantry. Do you want to charge? Yes, we would like to countercharge. Now we got to roll. Remember, this line is going to be seasoned, so they succeed on a 4. This Polish infantry is conscript, so they're going to succeed on a 5. So 5 for the blue, 4 for the red. And surprisingly enough, the Polish light cavalry have charged. Now, they don't get a charge bonus because they are light cavalry, but at least they get to get the attack in on this seasoned line cavalry. Again, they're conscripts. They're hitting on 5s. They're going to roll 2 successes, much to the chagrin of the British dragoons. I should just call them dragoons, but I have to call them line because that helps me remember what their actual function is. So 2 hits on those guys. And then the British, they do not get a charge bonus against heavy cavalry, but they didn't charge, so they are going to be hitting on 4s. And the British also get 2 hits. Now, 2 hits is not enough to do anything serious. And then these guys opted not to charge. They are not going to risk because I think if you charge, I got to double check, but I think if you charge and you fail, you become disordered. Let's look. Conscript, always roll activation to charge. Failing the activation just means they don't charge. Maybe they wanted to. Nah, we'll take the free shot. These guys are both going to have to pull back 4 inches. So to there and to here. Did I measure back to back? Yes. And once again, the cavalry, now they're not having a huge effect, but they are really keeping, they're having enough. I think they're having enough of an effect. We now go on to turn 4, and it would be the order's turn, but we don't have anything to worry about with respect to that. So the next thing we're going to do is French movement. And in this case, since it's already turn 4, we are going to have these guys form line and pivot around this way, like so that they're ready. Is that what we're going to do? We're definitely going to bring these guys up to here. Let's put these guys in flank. And we'll bring them up to there. Yeah, let's see what happens if we do that. Are they in the... Oh, you know, the one question I have here, though, is... see, those guys are not in command anymore. So we're going to have to bring these guys. They're going to be vulnerable to that line cavalry, but it's the only way to keep this light cav in command. All right, so for the British, we'll bring the commander-in-chief up to there. I don't think, yeah, these guys cannot move. Well, actually, we're going to bring them back here. That gives us more space. They'll move up to, let's see, so 4 inches takes them to there. They got to stop within 2, so that's perfect. And then these guys are going to come up here to within 2 inches. So we're about 2 inches away in all counts. There we go. And that's going to be it. No, it's not. We're going to bring these guys up, too. We got to start shooting at these guys in the woods. It's already turned 4, man. We're running out of time. With movement done, it's time to do some shooting, and boy, do we have some. We'll start with the French over here in the woods. They are seasoned infantry. They are going to be hitting on a 4-up. They're in line, so we roll 4 dice. We get a total of 3 hits on their counterparts, and that is enough to pin them. It is also enough to have to break out some more red dice. 1, 2, 3 damage, but these guys will shoot back. And what happens? Is it a -1D because you're shooting at guys in cover? Defending a... Oh, that's combat. And then we've got target in area cover. -1D6. So these seasoned guys hitting on 4 are only going to be able to roll 3 dice. They're able to score 2 successes on their counterpart, which is enough to pin them in place as well. Then we've got this conscript infantry firing, hitting on 5s. They're shooting these guys, of course. They do 1 more point of damage, so that takes this cavalry up to 4 hits. And then we are done with the shooting, so the French have to declare their charges. Hey, light cavalry, do you want to charge these guys? Yes, we do. Since they fired, what happens if you charge both of these guys? Well, I tell you what's going to happen is they're going to charge here. The French heavy cavalry will charge the conscript infantry. For their part, the conscript infantry is going to wait and see what happens here because we're going to have a counter charge. And maybe they won't even get hit. Maybe shooting was a mistake. You know, if they'd gotten the second hit, these guys would be pinned. That's kind of what they were hoping, but, you know, kind of long odds there. The heavy cavalry needs a 4+. The line cavalry needs a 4+ to see if they charge. Neither of them get it. They're just going to stare at each other across the way. Over here, the blue die, we're looking for a 5, and the red die, we're looking for a 4. Neither one of them get it with a 4 and a 2, so the turn ends just like that. On turn number 5, we remove our pin markers, and we conduct movement for the French. And the French are content. The British cannot move because they're lying. Well, I mean, I guess we could bring these guys. We could bring these guys around to here. That's really about all we can do. So there's not really a whole lot of movement. It's going to be another round of gunfire. Once again, it's going to be seasoned infantry hitting on 4s, shooting over here. I get a total of no hits this time. Oh, baby. The guys firing back also hit on 4s. Oh, I'm sorry, they only get to roll 3 dice. Oh, you know what I forgot, though? The British veteran infantry re-roll 1 miss. So they roll 3 dice, and they get 1 hit, but they get to re-roll this one. So they only get 1 hit this time. So tie game up here, but there's going to be some charging. We've got 1 more shot down here by the conscripts, firing at the heavy cavalry, only hitting on 5s. They only get 1 hit, but that 5 is enough to knock this cavalry down to... they are now classed as conscript. So if they want to charge, they got to roll a 5. And they do. The French are going to declare a charge here and a charge here. And of course, our line infantry are both going to countercharge to see if they can get that intercept. This is a win-win for these guys, because if they make contact, they're going to be fighting along this whole line. Well, let's just see what happens, all right? Again, it's going to be hitting on a 5 for the blue and a 4 for the red. So they both charge. And we go halfway between, and because these guys are in squadron, we're just going to kind of rotate like this, okay? So they said, oh, no, you don't. You got to leave my ground pounders alone. Then we got to roll down here, and it's a 5 for the blue and a 4 for the red to see who charges. This time around, the red make the charge and make contact, and the blue does not. So we got a couple of melees to resolve. We've got a heavy cavalry that will be rolling 4 dice and hitting on, right, because of the 5 there. They are going to be hitting on, they've taken 5 wounds, they're only going to be hitting on 5s. They do get a charge bonus, and they re-roll 1 miss on this one. So 5 dice to the French. They only scored 1 success, 2 successes altogether. So this goes up to 4. Not great, not enough to chase them off. And not only that, but the French get to retaliate. And they charge, well, they don't get a charge bonus because they are line attacking cavalry. So they only get to roll 2 dice, but they, for their part, hit on a 4-up. So this goes up to a 6. And then, because nobody won, everybody backs off 4 inches. Like this. Oh, you know, we should do the post-battle sequence first. Let's resolve what happens here. The line cavalry is hitting on a 4. Because they charged light cavalry, they do get their bonus dice. So it's going to be 5 dice for the British. They only had 2 damage. These little red dice are magnets, man. All right. They're hitting on 4s. They did a total of 2 damage to these guys. It takes them up to 5. And then the Polish are going to do their counterattack. They are light cavalry. They do not get a charge bonus. They were just looking for to get up there. And then, of course, the problem is they're in squadrons, so they only roll 2 dice hitting on 5s. They get 1 hit. And once again, we have a conflict that is not resolved. The light cavalry here with 5 damage, oh boy, so they are now conscripts that have to re-roll all of their hits. They fall back to there, and our line for the British fall back to there, and that is the end of turn number 5. The game is half over, and the British still have not even come within sniffing distance of... it's been a rather bloodless affair so far of our Via del Olga. I should have written that down. Holgazo? I can't remember. No sprechen Sie Espanol here. Hey, French, what are you going to do? You know what we're going to do? We are going to pull back 2 inches. 1, 2, well, let's see. How far can this guy pull back? 1, 2, just like that. And again, we're going to pull back to, well, how many inches should we pull back? Let's pull back, let's wheel back around to cover those guys like this. And I should, oh, are these guys in command? Yeah, yes, they are. See, there's our 4 inches. They are still within command. So we're going to pull them back to there. And we're going to make these guys spend another turn moving up. Which, well, I guess we got to pull these guys back. There we go. Hey, how about that, huh? There's our 2, well, was that 2 inches? wheeling around. We might have given ourselves a little too much distance on that one. They were up there. Yeah, that's really about as far as they can move. But it does force. So if that's the case, we don't want to do that. You know, if we could get, we're 2 inches away now. Oh, that's the thing. If they form a tack column, maybe that's the way to do it. We're going to form a tack column. That way we can move 3 inches. This guy can come all the way around to here. And that puts, this is a strategic with retreat to buy ourselves 1 turn. Now we're done moving the French. Now let's go ahead and form line with these guys. We can still move 4 inches, and it's just a lot more power when we have to countercharge. These guys pull all the way back because we want to be 4 inches away. Oh, we don't have room. There's just not enough room. So these guys are going to be able to move up 2 inches. Yeah, we can't move them. We can't move them. We got to leave them that 2 inches, which is going to allow these guys to come up too. And it's going to allow these guys to come up to here and make some threats. You know what we could do? We could bring these guys like this and then have the option of charging into their flank. So if they fail their charge, these guys are going to get drilled. All right, we got it. Shooting. There's no shooting here, nobody in range. This is the only shooting that we've got. 4 conscripts taking a shot at the heavy cavalry, just shooting them with ribbons. 1 more hit takes them up to 7. They are not along for the world, are they? And then we have to declare our charges. We are going to charge these guys, and they don't have a charge. So they're going to charge here, and they're going to charge here, which allows them the opportunity to make a counter charge. So that means we'll roll this one first. The blue succeed, the red fail. Blammo. And then because these guys are in line, we're going to go ahead and give them the opportunity to split their attacks. Well, is that what we're going to do? No, I don't think we... Well, are we going to give them that opportunity? 50-50. 1, 2, 3, they can split. They can. All right, so they can do some damage to everybody. No, let's give them the choice. What are you going to do? They want to try to wipe these guys from the map. Since this is the last attack they've got, let's try to remove 1 element. Then we've got to see, so these guys are able to charge over to here. It'll be the usual, succeeding on, oh, now because it's a 5, their activation, they need to roll a 5, and they need to roll a 4. They're successful. Now, they're successful on their first roll, but the Polish have to roll another success to be successful, and they fail, which means they just sit there, and these guys charge into the flanks, and they can form like so. So this heavy cavalry unit, I think, is in dire shape. We'll roll for their attack on this cavalry unit first. They are going to be, they're in line. They're going to be able to roll 4 dice. They charged, it's 5 dice, and they are able to re-roll 1 miss. So 5 dice, hitting on, what was this? These guys are conscript now, so they're hitting on 5s. So they got 2 hits, and they can re-roll 1, and they didn't get any hits there. So this cavalry unit now goes up to 6, and they are rated as conscript. But now it's the end. They got to deal with a total of 4. Well, you know, 4. Basically, they're being enveloped. It's 4 for these guys, 5, 6. So we need 1 more die. And all of them are going to be hitting on 4s. So we get 1 4. There it is. This guy is removed as a fighting force, and he has to make his activation check. And on a 2, they fail, which means the French elan goes down to 2. And that may be the only way, and the British elan goes up to 5. That may be the only hope that the British have for winning this, because they are way out of position. However, the question becomes, who did the most damage? And I think these guys did the most damage. The problem is they cannot be recalled. When you succeed on a charge, you have to make another charge. Well, wait a minute. Let's see. When you destroy another cavalry unit, you got to keep moving. They rode right through them. And that means that cavalry that are successful in destroying the unit make another charge straight ahead if there's another target in range. Oh. That's it? There isn't another unit in range, so I guess we don't have that problem. I stand corrected. The French have to go. They got to move. These guys, I guess, are going to try to charge. And now these guys will step up. They survived one more turn. And we'll step them up to here and say, hey, if you want to attack this flank, yeah, we'll go ahead and move up back into cover. So they have, oh, no, we got to do it here because we want to keep everybody 2 inches away so they can't charge into the built-up area. That's what we're doing. Then these guys will go ahead and swing down like so. I'm just going to, there we go. And our French commander, I guess we'll just put him, oh no, he's got to stay, he doesn't have any effect. I'm just moving him here just to kind of tighten things up a little bit. Then we're going to move up to here. We're going to swing these guys around, staying 2 inches away like this. And then we'll bring these guys, 1, 2, kind of spinning them in like that. And that's really about all we can do. Remember the squadron? We're just going to throw them at these guys. Hello, Mr. Ant. A lot of ants on my battle board today. There we go. It's annoying. Then we go to turn number 7. The movement is done, and man, things are really tightening up, aren't they? We have to do some shooting, and within 2 inches ahead, these guys are, you know what? Nobody is in range, so these guys are safe for another turn. These guys can't shoot, so it's just into charges. These guys are going to charge the walls. I know that sounds crazy, but that's just the way the game works. These guys are going to charge at each other, and again, they don't move. These guys succeed on a 5 or a 6. Another 5. Light cavalry. Ooh. Maybe they shouldn't have charged. Too late now. They move up to there, and what was this die? I think it was a 5, or was it a 5? I can't remember. It was a 5 or a 6. Great system here. We're just going to call it a 5, and I'm going to put it right there so it doesn't fall over anymore. Let's put him next to it. Put him on the sand just makes him too wibbly-wobbly. I got to leave him behind. And that'll help me remember when I move pieces, when I move them back where they go. So there we go. Right in the center, 5, 3, we good. And then we can measure from those dice. Yeah, you get it. You get it. We got to do some fighting. These guys charge, but they don't get any bonus at all. It's going to be 4 dice hitting on 5s, and then you have to re-roll the 5, actually. So they do get 1 hit, knocking these guys up to 4. And then they get the counterattack. And unfortunately, the seasoned line cavalry, against light cavalry, they do get the bonus die. And with that big roll there, they get 4 hits, which destroys this unit as a fighting force. And those Polish Lancers are going to have to make a activation check, and they fail. So the score is now 6 to the British to 1 for the French. If the French lose one more set of colors, they're out of luck. We're going to roll 2 dice attacking here. You don't get a bonus for the built-up area. It does 1 damage. So the townies have taken their first hit. Put it in your yard right there, Mrs. Robbins. And then the townies get to attack back. They are conscripts, but that's 6. That takes these guys up. And then, oh, hey, guess what? Because that cavalry did not succeed, they have to recoil back to here. And that's probably a good thing for the British, to be honest with you, because on the next turn, the French have to move, and we're going to bring these guys up. It's turn number 8. They've taken 4 damage. But by putting them right here, I think you can see it's going to save a lot. Well, Yeah, I guess that's it. 2 dice here. These old boys are going to swing around here and get ready. We might as well flank attack. We'll bring him up into the center so we can see what we're doing there. Make sure we're in control. And then we'll bring these conscripts up. Now remember, the conscripts, if they want to charge, they have to pass an activation roll. So that will complicate things considerably here. And in fact, these guys are now kind of out of the fight because they can't get in far enough. Unless we think, if we move them to swing them around here, they are going to get like one kamikaze charge against these guys. These guys have to stop back here, don't they? I'm going to move them all back because they got to stay 2 inches away. We got a gunfire here. It's going to be a total of 4d... Hey, 2, you're with them. So it's going to be 4d6 shooting at the British. And those are with 4... those guys are seasoned. Man, that's 3 hits. That leaves this British unit... wow, hurting bad. They're up to 6. And it leaves them disordered. But they do get to shoot back at full power. Again, it's a seasoned 4 dice... hitting on 4s, only 1 this time, so that takes them up to 5. And then we've got 2 dice shooting at the town, and both of those are going to be a hit, and then the town shoots back and gets 1 hit, which is not enough. So these guys will be able to charge. They will be able to shoot over here as well. So that is 4 and a 1 is a miss. So these guys can now charge in. These guys have to pass an activation roll. So on a 5 or a 6, they don't make it, so they just hang tight. And then these guys are going to charge here, and they're in squadron, so we've got a melee. They've only got 1 hit point left, but hey, why not? Because they're charging infantry, do we want to form square? It's turn 8, by the way. Do we want to try to form emergency square? They'd have to roll a 5 or 6 to do it. I don't think we do. I think we're just going to have to eat it. It's going to be a total of 7d6. Hitting on 5s. So there's our 1, 2. They have survived. They have... Wow, look at that. They only need 2 hits. And these guys get to attack back with 4d6. Hitting on 5s. That's 2 hits... Oh, but because they were badly wounded, it's going to be reroll and no hits. But it does chase these guys off for yet another turn. To about there. Then we got to do a 2d6 fight against these horses. And that's going to be 1 hit, because remember they're conscripts. And then the horses are attacking with 2d6, and they get 1 hit. So that is a 2nd point of damage against the boys in town. Only 6 more to go. Good luck. Now, of course, the squadron has to retreat 4 inches, but they're just going to keep throwing themselves at the walls. So we'll put them over there so you can see them. And then we have turn number 9. They've only got 2 turns left to chase these guys out. I think it's going to be... We're going to spend an elan on the part of the British, so these guys are not just disordered, they're also unpinned. You got to do it. You've only got a couple of turns left. Nobody else can move. So they are sitting on 7 damage, which is enough. Nobody can move except these guys just to get into charge range, and we'll do the same thing again. Yeah, that's it. So we've got shooting here. It's going to be 4d6, hitting on 5s, re-rolling, no hits there. Oh, no, hitting on 5 straight up, but there were no hits. And then here it's going to be 4 shots here. The 5 and the 6 need to be re-rolled, and so it's all a bunch of misses. We've got 2d6, 2d6 because you're shooting at a town. And that's another hit, taking them to 3. But the town shoots back. At these conscripts, and they miss with a 4 and a 2. charge in here and charge in here. We'll do the melee up here first. Again, oh, you know what? Because they're in flank, I think I rolled too many dice. It's going to be 2d6 plus the d6 for the charge. And with a 4, 6, and 6, now those guys hitting on 5s, that's going to destroy these guys. But they do get a melee back to the tune of 4d6. That's going to destroy, well, what do we got here? We got a veteran hitting on a 5 because they're down to conscript, so that destroys this British line cavalry. So both sides have to make, and both sides fail, so they're just going to trade colors, which is great because it means we get to keep playing. Then we have a melee down here. The town attacks the horses and hits twice, taking them up to 4 damage. The horses attack the town, and don't you love it? Don't you love it? I need some better dice. So these horses are hitting on 4s because they're line. They do 2 more damage, taking these guys up to 5. And then, why didn't you charge in? You should have charged in. If you had done 1 more, you would have disordered these guys. Well, it's turn number 10. And now it's everybody. So this is it, guys. We're going to move up 1, 2 inches so we can shoot. They're shooting, and then these guys have to withdraw, and then they're going to charge. So it's the same thing over and over again. We are going to have a total of 4 dice shooting against the town. And, well, I got to roll it independently. These guys are going to be hitting on 5s. They do 1 damage, taking the town up to 6. These guys are going to be hitting on 5s. Oh, and they don't do any damage. Do we spend the point? I think we spend the point. We're going to spend an elan, taking the British down to 4. We can spend it. We can afford it. And still with double 3s, no result. Which means it comes down to you horses. You guys are going to need it. Well, we get a couple of chances to do this because these line cavalry are busting at the gates, and they are hitting on 4s. And they got 2 5s, which will do 2 blamage. And that will be enough to destroy the defenders once and for all. And as the sun goes down, the cavalry rides in and accepts the surrender of the French garrison that was in the village. Once again, a 1v1 game of Absolute Emperor provides about an hour of wargaming fun. This time around, we had some allied forces. We got down into the peninsula. You gotta love it. Wellington is gonna be so happy. Murat is gonna be mad. Both of those things warm my heart. Just not a fan of Murat. What can I tell you? Till next time, I'm praying for you.